Air to air target on the left with the radar, correct? Yeah.
Chuck. Missile, Chuck.
It's a sports car. It's a lot of fun to fly.
Welcome to Wichita, Kansas. I'm here to get a close-up look at the M-346. In partnership with Leonardo of Italy, Beechcraft is set to offer the M-346N in the forthcoming competition to replace the T-45 Goshawk, which will provide the US Navy with a brand new jet training aircraft.
Behind me is the M-346. What we're marketing is the M-346N for the US Navy. It's here in Wichita, Kansas on a demo tour to the US to show it off to the Navy and all stakeholders to get more exposure on this side of the pond, because previously to this there were so few pilots in the US that had flown the airplane.
As part of my visit to its factory airport in Wichita, Beechcraft gave me the opportunity to fly in the M-346 to get a taste of its handling characteristics and also to see its embedded tactical training system in action.
This airplane is a fantastic replacement for the Goshawk because it is not only a high-performing twin-engine fly-by-wire jet, but it is an entire training system. The airplane is only one component and the most visible component of a multi-piece system. So we add in the Embedded Tactical Training System, or ETTS. That gives us the LVC capability, and for those not familiar, that's Live Virtual Constructive. So live is the airplane you see behind me. Virtual is all of the tracks we can inject, whether that's other friendlies, enemy aircraft, enemy ground troops, surface-to-air threats, things of that nature, into the scenario. And then constructive would be, you've got two airplanes, but each one of us has a virtual wingman working in concert. Or you're in the simulator, I'm in the airplane, and we're wingmen, or we're fighting each other. So it gives the Navy a lot of flexibility in how they can train going forward. We're going to bring in a lot more virtual training and a lot more flexibility to the syllabus to start introducing some advanced concepts sooner. It's incredibly important to have a mature synthetic element because that gives you multiple ways to inject different things into the scenario. The maturity of it allows you to inject things in a way that's realistic and has already been fed back from the customer to the OEM to make the system match reality in the best way possible. And that's going to allow you to have massive cost savings, because now instead of sending up two jets with two Red Air jets for, say, a 2v2 to generate one Student X, I can send up two jets and generate two Student X's with half as many aircraft. So now with the same number of airplanes on the line, I can generate sorties faster and get students through the syllabus with a lot less friction, or I can have fewer jets and save money that way as well. So either way, it's going to allow a lot more bang for buck for the US taxpayer. The Embedded Tactical Training System, or ETTS, utilizes a computer within the jet. It's another mission computer, essentially, and that gives you a fully integrated live virtual constructive scenario. So what you can see there is imagery, like you have a pod on the airplane even though you don't. So when I slew around using my HOTAS, just like I would in an F-18, that's going to show me an image on the ground that actually matches reality, because we geo-rectify those images based on where we are. So you set up a scenario based on each base you're at, or the en route portion of a flight, for example, and that's going to show you that imagery. There's a synthetic radar that works the same way. For the fighter attack variant, we can put an actual radar in it, and it looks exactly the same. So we can simulate a mechanically scanned radar or an electronically scanned radar. It really is up to the customer on what they want to see. So that gives us a lot of flexibility, as I said before. So you're bringing in sensors. It's not just other tracks. And then as far as looking outside, you've got everything on your screens to cue your eyes in the right direction, but now what am I going to see when I look outside? So from that point, we go forward into augmented reality, which starts with a helmet-mounted display. So with a helmet-mounted display, similar to what F-35 and F-18 pilots use in the fleet, now you're seeing tracks when you look outside. You're at least seeing a data link track, if not seeing some kind of representation of an airplane. So you may be going to the merge with an empty piece of sky, but the system is showing you something that's actually there. There's a huge training value in that. Granted, we still want pilots to learn how to work with actual other airplanes, but there's a huge constructive piece that's allowing you to build a scenario with very few physical assets.
Air-to-air target on the left with the radar.
Chuck. Missile, Chuck.
The partnership with Leonardo is to collaborate on updates to the airplane for the US Navy to make it to their specification. The final airplane, while they're currently assembled in Venegono, Italy, the final airplane would be assembled here in the US by Americans, for Americans. The airplane IOC'd in, I believe it was 2016, so it's been online for about 10 years now, and it's been continuously improved through customer feedback that entire time. Leonardo has produced about 140 airplanes. They're on a hot production line, so that number is changing almost daily, but they're training a number of different air forces, including pilots that are flying the F-35 today. So the airplane has a proven track record of training 4th and 5th and eventually 6th generation fighter pilots. On top of that, the ETTS has proven its worth as they're using that every day with all those scenarios that I talked about. And we're jumping in at a really good time because the airplane is on the verge of a major avionics upgrade as well. It being 10 years old, they're changing from a multi-function display format to a single large area display. One of the requirements the Navy has signaled to us is that they want to have a large area display, which makes sense because in the advanced Super Hornet and the F-35 both have large area displays as well. So it's really training the aircrew on the same kind of system they're going to see in the fleet. And that's kind of the point of an advanced jet trainer, is to do that. You're introducing a lot of new concepts and bringing them into something that's more in alignment with what they're going to see when they actually get to their fleet jet. The Navy has signaled to us that they are already not taking students to the aircraft carrier in all cases, and their intention going forward is to not take student naval aviators to the aircraft carrier in an advanced jet trainer jet. So as we understand it, the customer is signaling to us that they do not need a carrier-capable airplane. So it's kind of interesting when we do the walk around and you see an airplane without a tailhook, right? But part of that is the redundancy of this airplane. Because it has multiple redundant hydraulic systems and multiple redundant braking systems, a tailhook is actually not required for the aircraft. So it was never built into the aircraft. Could we add one if it was required? Absolutely. Same thing for the landing gear. So the landing gear are set up for field operations. If you were going to do full rate FCLP touchdowns, i.e. fly the ball all the way to touchdown, as a good naval aviator should, you would need to reinforce that landing gear structurally. That's certainly something we can do. We've done a lot of background engineering for that. So that's an offering we can give to the customer should those requirements change. But as we understand it now, there will be no shipboard operations and no FCLPs to a touchdown. Instead, we're going to bring in that virtual element again. As I said before, we're going to be bringing the carrier environment into the simulator. We're going to be bringing in precision landing modes in the simulator, and we're going to be teaching students how to operate around the carrier using a virtual environment. And then what they get in the jet is the physical feel of it, going fast, G's, actually thinking in that dynamic environment so that they have the experience they need when they get to the fleet. There is one RFI out to industry right now that's current, and there will be one set of requirements that's put out to industry when the Navy puts out their request for proposals. The latest information I have is what we can expect is an RFP in December with potential contract award by January of 2027. So those timelines are always subject to change, but that's the latest information we have.